Okay, this is Dr. Richard Eby with Eby Foot Care. Today we're going to do a biopsy of a plantar skin lesion. Most likely this is a wart, which has been treated a few times with cryotherapy. The cryopen has not gone away and the patient wants to have it removed. So what we've done so far is we have used a local anesthetic, injecting it around the lesion. This makes the area slightly white, kind of raises it a little bit. One of the more painful places to get an injection, but it takes very little to make it numb. And the wart is the part that we think is a wart. We're going to find out for sure right here in the center. And what I'm going to do is kind of pinch it, and you should be able to tell I'm doing something, but it shouldn't really hurt when I do that. And I'm staying really close to it because this is very small. The area that's numb is pretty small. I'm going to use a device called a biopsy punch. These are two different punches. They're both sterile. This is a 2 millimeter, which would be way too small for what we're doing. I'm going to say that's about 3 to 3.5 millimeters in diameter. That's a 2. This is a 5, which is a little bigger than we need, but it's better to be a little on the large size. That way we're getting a little bit of normal skin around it. So we made sure everything is numb. It's a very quick procedure. The anesthetic we use for this is a little different than an ingrown toenail in that we're using on this xylocaine with epinephrine. Epinephrine makes it not bleed nearly as much, and you'll see there's still some bleeding. If we were doing this on a toe, we would use this little thing, which is a toe tourniquet, and we wouldn't have to use epinephrine. We could actually make the anesthetic last a little bit longer by putting Marcaine in it, but the toe would not bleed at all because this would go around the toe. Doing this on the part of the foot that it's on, the forefoot below the metatarsals, we really can't put a tourniquet like that on it. We could do it in the operating room with an ankle tourniquet, which would be a little more uncomfortable for her. So instead we're just not going to worry about the bleeding. There'll be a little bit here for a minute or so, and right after that we'll be putting something on it called Styptocaine. So I'm going right to the wart area. Again, if anything hurts, let me know. You should feel just a little pressure.
Yeah.
Probably not even a lot of pressure, just a little bit.
Oh.
You okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not actually going to go the full thickness of this.
Wait a second.
We may need to add a little bit here. Let's see what we look like. We may be okay. Still okay?
Mm-hmm.
Still good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're almost there. Now, despite the fact that warts on the bottom of the foot tend to be a lot deeper because the skin is thicker, they are only this thickness of the skin. So we're just getting it through the dermis. I'm going to send that. Is it in there? Okay. And before we do anything else, I just want to get a good look at it, make sure there's nothing else there. So you can see we have a good clean cut, not a whole lot of bleeding. I'm going to put something on it called Styptocaine. Styptocaine is just to make it stop bleeding. Thank you. Again, you probably won't feel anything. If anything, a little pressure of me pushing. Now, if you've seen some of our cryopen videos, sometimes they bleed just from trimming the wart. This is different because we're actually below the wart now. We've removed, I'm going to do one more, that's Styptocaine. Okay. And again, we got basically the whole lesion and a little extra. Betadine next. I'm going to bandage this just like we do the nail surgeries. I like to use a little betadine antiseptic and then Silvadene, which is an antibiotic cream. And even though we're not getting a lot of bleeding, we're getting a little bit, so we don't want the gauze to stick. That's good. I'll take the Silvadene. So we're going to use Telfa, which is a non-adherent gauze. And the only other thing I'll need, which can be in one of those drawers, or we can get it from another room, is some cling after I get this part covered with sterile gauze. So there's no sutures with this. If we had used a biopsy punch that was any bigger, we would have had to put stitches in it. I've actually done it up to an 8 without, but when you start getting bigger than 5 or 6, it takes a lot longer to heal. And I'm kind of making this a little fluffed up just to put a little pressure on it. That's good. Thank you. So we'll be sending the specimen out to a lab. We use Baco Labs in Atlanta, which gets us a good report back within about 10 days at the most. We don't even use the term wart with them. We just say this is a benign, this is a lesion of questionable etiology. So they'll tell us if it's a wart, but I can be pretty certain it is from the way it looks. I'm going to take one more of those, even though we're not getting any bleeding through there. Thank you. And that's actually good. It's not unusual as I'm putting this on for it to be bleeding quite a bit. You really had very little.
Yeah.
So tomorrow morning, you'll be able to remove all the bandages
Okay.
and clean it. We're doing the post